Hey gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for our time today. We're going to be talking about how to build, how to start, how to plan, how to initiate a men's ministry. So I'm excited you're here. If you are here, that probably means that you're a men's leader of some type. So I want to know who you are because it is my life goal to support guys like you regardless of where you are or what you are doing. So if you're here today and you're live, let me know in the comments below. Let me know your first and last name, maybe where you're from, whether that be city, state, province, region, whatnot. I would love to know, and so would all the other guys as well. God is doing a great work in men's ministry that sometimes feels very disconnected. Let's connect here. Let's make this a spot right now where we can begin working together. Also, I understand that there's probably a large spectrum of men's leaders here today with various enthusiasms about watching this video. First off, I probably understand that there's probably some men's leaders today who are passionate, excited, and called and ready to go right now. On the other end of the spectrum, there are men joining us today that are frustrated and irritated and not sure where to go right now. I understand that. Maybe everything in between. I'm just glad you're watching today, and I hope this helps you. I want to set out the premise, too, that I want you to know today very humbly that I'm not going to help you start or initiate or plan your men's ministry. This isn't your ministry. This ministry belongs to Jesus. He started it. He founded it. He died for it. It belongs to him. And by the way, the men that we are leading, they belong to him too. I'm just going to guide you into maybe helping you understand how to start or initiate, plan, or build God's ministry and how you can join in on that process. And the way I'm going to do that is going to be fairly simple today. I'm not going to show you a bunch of charts. I'm not going to give you a 20-page PowerPoint today because I don't think Jesus ever did that, by the way. I think he made things really simple. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on theory or strategy. Very simply today, I'm just going to give you 3 G's. That's it. 3 words that begin with the letter G. And I'm actually just going to take this from the meta-narrative of Jesus's life as he did ministry. I see Jesus doing all 3 of these things, and I hope that you'll join in with Jesus's ministry of leading men exactly the way that he did. And I'm going to keep it simple. So today you're going to get 3 G's on how to start, build, plan, or initiate his men's ministry. Here's G number 1. It all starts with a group. It all starts with a group. That's how Jesus started his ministry, was with a group of men. He went out and got 12 men and said to them, come follow me, come follow me, come follow me. And he took them on this incredible journey. Here's what Jesus did not do. He didn't put an announcement in the synagogue program looking for men. He didn't staple a flyer to the temple wall looking for guys. He didn't do that. He didn't even build a website first, just so you know. Here's how Jesus went and did it. He went and got some fat guys. That's what I call them, fat guys. Faithful, available, and teachable. Faithful, available, and teachable. Okay, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for guys who are hungry because they're fat, right? I'm not talking about physically hungry because we know guys are hungry too, right? But I'm talking about spiritual hunger, and they're out there. I know these hungry men are out there. They may be quiet. They may be sitting on the fence right now. They may not even understand how to satisfy the hunger that they have. They may be young in their faith. They could be old in their faith. They could be young in age or old in age, but there are hungry men out there. You're going to go seek these guys out, all right? You're going to invite them to participate in a group, not your group, God's group that you happen to be leading. Because by the way, this is where everything begins. This is the incubator for their growth and your leadership. And fellas, if you can't lead a group of men, you have no business leading a ministry. It all starts with a group of men. So kind of whet your appetite here. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the dynamics right now about how to lead a group or what the engagement should look like, but there should be essential components, right? You should have the Bible, you should have prayer, you should have engagement, you should have transparency, There should be conversation. You should be pushing for accountability. You should be challenging men every once in a while. That's where everything begins. It begins with this group. And for some of you, it might be a group of 3 guys. It might be 5. It could be 7. It could be 10. I wouldn't do more than 12 because, fellas, I can't lead a group of more than 12 guys. It's just not possible. And I've done it for years. I've done it for 30 years. And I can tell you, a group of 12 guys, Jesus was able to do it, but it can become chaotic at times. It can become difficult. But right there, that's the incubator for where everything begins. And you're going to commit to this for a season. It could be 6 weeks. It could be 8 weeks. It could be 12 weeks. It could be a year. But when I started off, I committed to 24 months with these guys that I was doing together every week. That's where I began because I found that long-term commitment to a group of guys together is where everything formed and stormed and normed. And that's where everything began. First G is this: you got to have a group of hungry men that are fat, all right? Number 2, you got to have annually, one time a year, a gathering event. Now, Jesus did gathering events, right? He had gathering events everywhere he went. He had gathering events by a well. He had gathering events by a pool. He did them in the temple. He did them in the synagogue. He did them in the public arena. Everywhere Jesus gathered, there was a gathering event, of course. And this is where we start to include the masses, right? We got a group over here, but now we're starting to include the masses. And there are a few things that you need to do to pull off this annual gathering event. Number 1, you got to plan it. This is the problem with men. We don't plan things. You got to put something on the calendar, choose a date and time, and plan it. And guess what? You're going to use the men from your group to plan it. You're going to include them in it. The leaders you need are right there now because they're in your group. You're going to start casting vision with them, and you're going to allow them to plan it. Number 2, at this event, there's going to be all kinds of things that you probably want to do at this event. There's probably going to be food, some games, but most importantly, there needs to be a presentation of the gospel. That's why we're doing it. We're doing it to share Jesus, his ministry, with other men that we want to include. And yeah, we're going to invite men from our church and its greater community, from maybe our neighborhood, from our family, from our lives, from our businesses, wherever we can find men. But we're gathering them at this event to present the gospel. And I want to give you the easiest way to present the gospel. It's to share a testimony. Let a man share a powerful testimony. So you're going to plan an event, you're going to present the gospel, and you're going to share a powerful testimony. And the place you're probably going to find that testimony is within this group of guys. Because that way they'll talk about the group, they'll talk about the experience, they'll talk about the ministry they want to build, and in the context, they'll share their testimony. The testimony is the working of Jesus through their life and how God has been impacting them before and after Christ. In fact, when I speak across the country, one of the most powerful stories I share is of my own testimony. That's how I present the gospel. It's the most effective way, by the way, to share the gospel, because then people, men, can see the supernatural working of Jesus through their life and imagine it happening through them. All right? With the point, the final P, the point of driving them back to a group, of course, potentially doubling the size of our group. Going from 1 to 2 would be doubling in the first year, right? That's what we're trying to do, is drive men to Jesus, back to brotherhood, where they can experience the community of faith around other men. Fellas, this is where we're trying to go. Now, you might want to get fancy with some of these events, but don't be fancy with it. Just make a plan, be purposeful, present the gospel, make the point of driving them back to groups, right? So don't get fancy with this stuff. Just do it in a simplistic way. That way men can engage and hear what God is wanting to do in their life as well. Third thing is this. Third G is this. You got to have a getaway. You got to have a getaway. We call these retreats. Men understand retreats. We need annual retreats, places where we can reset, repent, reconcile, restore. I guess anything that begins with the letter R, okay? So we need these annual events. And by the way, Jesus did these annual events. He did them 3 times a year until the day he died. They were called Passover, Pentecost and the Feast of Booths. What men did during these celebrations where they went up to the temple, left their jobs, sometimes left their families, came up to the temple to celebrate, to worship, to restore, to reconcile, to repent, to reset with God, their maker. And they set these times aside because God knew that they were important for men to do these things. Today, I don't know why we're not doing these things, but we need getaways planned annually. And I'm only asking you to do one. Jews did 3, right? So I'm asking you to do one today, to plan one, because at retreats, we can accomplish more than we can once a week for an hour for an entire year. I mean, I've seen more things happen at retreats with other men that can happen at home. And by the way, this becomes the breeding ground for developing more groups. So there you have it, 3 G's, right? Group, gathering event, and getaway. That's it. And I'm only asking you to do one group, one gathering event, and one getaway. That's it. In the hopes that you can multiply these groups and drive men back to the Bible, back to brotherhood, and build God's ministry. Fellas, that's what we're trying to do here. Build God's ministry, but to do it with men. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this time today. Of course, you can visit my website if you're looking for resources for your groups. Also, we have events and we have retreats as well. You'll see more videos from me in these times, but I really pray this blesses with you. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave those below, and I'll see you right back here again next time.